My appearance is kind of a shock to everybody. Here's your look at the NECA toys. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, retro cloth Elvira. When you hear the name Elvira only, one person comes to mind, horror icon and quintessential symbol of all things spooky, the one and only Mistress of the Dark. Before we get the review started for Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, I'd like to first thank the folks over at NECA Toys, I don't know why I'm saying this so quietly, that did provide this sample of Elvira that we can have a look at in this review. If you guys, by the way, FYI, are interested to pick this one up for yourself, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, is available in retail stores and online. With that being said, let's go ahead and grab the ruler. Now, she is technically on her display stand, so I guess it would be fair to leave that off when measuring the figure. Elvira is 8 3/8 of an inch tall, or she's about 22 centimeters tall. Not the first time either that we've gotten Elvira, in fact, sliding her over. We did, in fact, also get ourselves a Toonie Terrors release of Elvira that actually predates the retro cloth release. That sort of started the wheels rolling, and we finally got ourselves a retro cloth release. I don't suspect the nature and popularity of Elvira, as popular as she may be, whether we would ever really see ourselves getting an ultimate release, considering already as well that she's wearing that dress, that long train dress that she wears. That really would only translate to an ultimate figure doing the same thing that the retro cloth release is. I'm just happy that we finally get ourselves a retro cloth looking Elvira that is as good as the figure that we get here. Shall we have a look at the accessories that come included with Elvira? Show of hands. Unanimously, we've decided we shall. First of all, the figure comes included with a dagger. The dagger, if anything could be lost in this figure, it would be the dagger. Oh, it would be lost if I wasn't. Oh, no, it's right here. That's what happens when you joke. When you joke, you end up losing little tiny accessories. But she comes included with the little tiny dagger, some nice detailing done to both the guard as well as the hilt, as small as it may be. This can actually fit into her hand, stock as is. She doesn't come with, after all, any other swappable hands. Easily, you can put the dagger in between her hand, and she holds it perfectly fine. There is also another place where she can house the dagger. There's a little looplet here on the front of her belt. I realize now I should have never joked about that, because now I'm going to only jinx myself. You can take the dagger and also wedge it in between that little loop on her belt. And actually, bringing back in the Toonie Terrors release, sort of did the same thing, although they molded the dagger already to her dress. I do like the idea that they've actually put that little looplet there where you can actually put the dagger. Technically, the figure also comes included with display stand. We'll kind of look at that as the last thing. The figure also comes included with a chalice. Now, I know enough about chalices and beverages to know that if anything is smoking out the top, that's a beverage that you don't tend to want to drink. It's a word to the wise. You can see it's got some really interesting smoke that they sculpted out. It sort of has, in some ways, a bit of a face. See the little nose there, little mouth? It kind of looks like, is it the Noid? The Noid from that pizza commercial back in the 80s? Was it Domino's Pizza and the Noid? Doesn't it look a little like the Noid? Someone right now is like, what is this guy talking about? I think it's the Noid. I'm just annoying everybody by saying this. I do like the way that they've actually sculpted and painted that. And you can also see, I'm still sticking with the idea of seeing faces. There seems to be faces also on this chalice as you spin this around. This can also fit into her hand as well. You can take the hand that we already just finished having a look at for the dagger. And it works also, it's multi-purpose. You can also take the chalice and fit it into her hand. Although the thing about it is this, the dress sleeve, it continues to get in my way of things. But we can go ahead and fit that. Actually, to be fair, it really probably fits a little bit better in this hand. No, actually, I was right the first time. It fits into this hand. Just want to pry the fingers away from the palm. I did this earlier, and I did end up having to heat the hand. Probably going to have to do that again, as it doesn't really fit. I'm going to have to heat this inner hand. I'll do this later, as we get near to the final looks of the figure. But yeah, the fingers, you really have to kind of get these fingers away from the palm. I had done this at the beginning of this review. No, it's supposed to go in her hand. I'll fix that. I'll rectify that a little bit later. The figure also comes included, gather around everybody, a skull candle. Wouldn't that just be the nicest thing you could have on your little side table? Somebody comes into your living room. Oh, don't turn on the light. Let me just light my skull candle. You're what? My skull candle. I do like the fact that there's one little eyeball that's sort of looming off to the side. The other eyeball either has been disintegrated, it's dissolved, some rat maybe has eaten it, or just fell out, rolled onto the floor like the Meatball song. Rolling away eyeball. I do like the little tiny touches of having the little serpent running through the mouth. It is all molded. I mean, there's no articulation, anything at all to this. There's a little spider off to the side, long hair, at least this part, long hair. And of course you got the candles on the top times 2. Such a cool little accessory. I think I would like to get something like that for my living room. I think it would really finish off. It would go well with the drapes, the carpeting I sort of have right now. Skull candle. Gonna make that happen. And then the last thing the figure comes included with as well is my favorite of the 2 head sculpts is this one here. This is the winking eye. She's like, ah. She's winking. Just to kind of show you the difference between the 2. And oh, by the way as well, the figure also comes included with a display stand. This is crucial because the figure, based on the footing that she has, there's very little footprint. And as a resulting of it, the figure, well, let's just fix the wardrobe malfunction. The figure does have a little more of a difficult time standing. You kind of have to really balance her. But she is very top heavy for some other reasons other than just her hair. The figure is going to be more inclined to toppling over. Yes, you definitely do want to use your display stand. But just to pick the figure up and show you the difference between the 2 head sculpts, sort of just a more neutral head sculpt with her just smiling. But I do think I like the blinking eye just a little bit more. Ding! Changing out the head sculpt's pretty easy. I mean, we're going to go ahead and just hold on to the torso. Hold on to the torso. And just pop the head off. There we go. Off the ball joint. And then we just go ahead and replace it with what I feel to be the superior head sculpt. Just popping that back on. Putting a little bit of pressure on there. There we go. Satisfying snap. Get this head sculpt instead. It hasn't gone anywhere. It's still here. It hasn't left. It hasn't left the studio. That's what the original head sculpt. In both the cases, the paint is so good on this. Both the eye shadowing, the eyeliner there as well. I know so little about makeup. And then, of course, the ruby red lips, whether you prefer to have just a smiling with just a little bit of teeth, or you like the full treatment of a little bit of tongue and top teeth. Head sculpts deliver in both departments. Both the hair in this case as well seem to be identical. I don't think there's anything really different between the sculpting of the hair. It seems as if, I mean, if you were to look at it from the back, it would be hard-pressed to guess as to which head sculpt I'm holding. Well, you already know the answer to that. But yeah, the hair seems to be the same. And it doesn't look as if they've actually added any additional paint other than just the straight black. I really think in a case like this, you don't need to add highlights. I think that would detract away from the head sculpt. There's more than enough decent paint happening on Elvira's face, whether you choose this head sculpt or choose this head sculpt. I don't feel like they need to add any extra paint. The black is more than enough. It's more than enough. I realize I'm so disappointed in myself. I didn't get that chalice in. Here I was. I had the chalice in her hand the time before. I mean, really, like, that's hand the way it's angled. You really, first of all, you have to get the chalice in on an angle. It's not one that's going to sit upright. I mean, she kind of holds it. There we go. There we go. Whoosh. I was never going to hear the end of that. She does hold the chalice, but she sort of holds it on an angle. I feel, if anything, I guess the idea is when she has it, she has her arm up like this, so it sort of lines parallel to the handle of the chalice. I still think they probably could have included a secondary hands just for a gripping hand alone, where she can actually hold the chalice a little bit better. She sort of holds it like a fluted wine glass. I guess that's how you would drink it, like a wine glass, sort of just delicately, dainty-like. Finally got the chalice in her hand. As for the articulation on Elvira, starting things off, first of all, with her head sculpt, the head, in most theories, would rotate all the way around, because we already know how a ball joint works. Unfortunately, though, just by the nature of how long her hair is on the back, and then, of course, she's got the strands of hair in the front, it really is difficult. You're going to rotate it back and forth this way. You're going to rotate it up, hinge it down, and kind of rock it back and forth. But the idea of really rotating all the way around the globe like Superman, you just can't do it. First of all, it would kill Elvira. You really don't want that. Second of all, though, I mean, yeah, you're just going to have the problem of the hair getting in the way. So, I mean, it does all the other things we just finished talking about. The arms comfortably come out beyond even the point. I mean, she can almost do jumping jacks beyond the point of a 90-degree angle bend. I don't know why you would want to necessarily display her like that, but you can. The arms would normally be able to rotate all the way around. I mean, one of the problems, of course, even though her dress is a more thinner variety of material, yeah, rotating the arm around the globe, it's going to get tight up here because the fabric's going to get tight around her shoulder. While she does have it, still, I would only just keep it to the idea of rotating her arm this way, yeah, not all the way around. She has a swiveled bicep. She has a single hinge. I think she only has a single hinge on the, yeah, she has single hinge. No, double hinge. I had not up to this point looked and rolled up her sleeve. She actually does have a double hinge on her elbow. That's nice to see that they actually had that. And the hand, of course, rotates all the way around, hinging back and forth as well. Did we even spend any time talking about her hands? I don't think we even did. The nails, a little bit longer, have been painted in black. And she's got herself a single ring, only on her pointer finger. The other hand, literally on the other hand, she has a studded bracelet. No ring to be found on these fingers. The top of her torso, delicately, top of her torso is on a ball joint. The legs split out. You can go forward and back on the legs. There's a swivel on the top of the thigh, a single hinge on the knee. And then when it comes to her feet, not something that we talked about too much other than just the display stand, but her feet are on sort of hinges. They're not I mean, if we just we move the foot out of the way, you can see what little of a hinge there is to work with. It isn't there really, I think, practical for the purpose of actually bending her ankle. I mean, in fact, it's more so there just to kind of rotate her foot. I mean, even though there's the hinge joint, you're really only probably going to be doing this with her feet anyways. And of course, when it comes to displaying her, I would not recommend really trying to stand her on her own. You could do it with a little bit of luck and a little bit of hope. You can get her to stand on her own, but she's probably going to fall over. Let's just call it a day and get herself the display stand going, which again, like the display stand pegs into either one of her feet. It's entirely up to you which one you want to go with. And there you have Elvira. That's a nice looking figure. Still though, when it comes to, I think, displaying her, while I do appreciate the fact that NECA Toys did not just one good head sculpt, but two, I think I'm still going to settle on the idea of Elvira winking. I think I just prefer that look. And, you know, if anything, you could probably just take yourself the skull candle and have it displayed by her feet. And if you have better luck than me, you can also take the chalice and put it into her hand. A really nice looking Elvira. If you are a big fan of Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, like I'm a big fan of Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, there's at least two options available now from NECA Toys. Originally, it was only, again, the Toonie Terrors release, but at least now we finally have ourselves a full-figured retro cloth release of Elvira that we can put on a shelf. Driving myself crazy trying to think of the name of that character from the pizza commercial. It was Domino's Pizza, the Noid. And somebody's like, are we still talking about this? I thought we had moved on from this. It wasn't even good to talk about the first time that he mentioned in this review. Why did he even take the time to mention it again? It was the Noid. I hope I haven't annoyed anybody. Speaking of annoyances, while still talking about annoyances, in the picture on the back of the box, a little further down, you might not even see it because the rotisserie is in front of it, she does actually have the possibility of wielding the chalice in her other hand. Though the grip is wider, and it doesn't fit as well, I think, as the other hand that was holding the dagger, the one that I had the problems with, you can actually see in final looks, she is holding the chalice in that hand. It's holding, it's not even holding well either. Just enough. She sort of got her thumb resting against the side of the chalice. That seems to be enough to kind of keep it in place. I guess, if anything, I could probably display the dagger in her other hand, but I kind of like the idea of just having her arm gestured like this. She doesn't always have to have her hands full. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, though, is a nice release from the folks over at NECA Toys, giving us not one good head sculpt, but two equally good-looking head sculpts with that one winking eye. My favorite, though, of the two. Whether we may get ourselves any other versions of Elvira. Probably slim to none. I would imagine that in a case like this, NECA sees probably Elvira as a 1 and we're done. Even though technically it's a 2 and we do, because we already got ourselves the Toonie Terrors version of Elvira. This now marks the second one. But if you don't like as much the Toonie Terrors look of Elvira and you just want the more realistic looking Elvira, this fits the bill rather nicely. Nice looking Elvira. A big thank you, though, to the folks over at NECA Toys that did, in fact, provide this sample of Elvira, Mistress of the Dark that we could have a look at in this review. Of course, if you are interested and would like to pick this one up for yourself, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark is available right now in retail stores and online. I'm going to fix that little cough that I had. If you guys are new to this channel, you're enjoying the content that you're seeing, make sure, first of all, you're hitting that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell notification, and make sure you're keeping your peepers peeled while we have wrapped up the reviews for Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. There's definitely going to be a lot more NECA reviews lined up and coming your way. So as always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.